At this point, I don't think it's rocket science anymore what Xbox has been trying to do. After all the noise that we had to deal with, it's nice to be able to get a little bit of clarity and silence from a lot of the detractors. In fact, I think I already have a few videos lined up where they're already downplaying what Xbox is doing. But look at the way Phil Spencer responded to this question. And I think this is why, as a PC gamer, I've added Xbox on my list of places that I would patronize in terms of what it is that they do. I'm a value-based customer. Anybody that gives me value, they're going to see me there if I'm interested in what they're offering. That's how I game. Paris Lily was kind enough to go back and reiterate this response from Phil Spencer from an interview that was done earlier this year. It was about a few months ago. I remember listening to this interview on my way back from work. That's how I knew it was a few minutes. It was a few months ago. I was getting in the vehicle after school, and I fired the thing up, and I just wanted to hear what Phil Spencer had to say. And I thought it was probably a very pivotal interview, but nothing too out of the ordinary. But there is a Freudian slip or some kind of a slip here, and you could tell Phil was trying to keep something until, and you'll see it right here. So let's listen.
Yeah, I want people to be able to experience the games that we build, the services that we offer on as many devices as we can. Obviously, some of the devices out there, some of the platforms are closed. They don't allow everything that we do to show up on those platforms. The thing that I've learned and continue to learn when I'm listening to creators, not only our own studios, but other teams building games, is every creator out there wants to build a game that can find as many players as they want.
That to me is the strangest thing, that people still doubt that statement. Like I remember Nib 95 making multiple videos talking about how exclusive games have all of these benefits to them and, budgets. I remember Reforged Gaming. These guys were building entire sets of their ethos on this premise that the game being exclusive gave all of these benefits, when in reality, the biggest benefit is the fact that people can play the game. Right? They made it seem like, platform development is this terrible thing, something that developers of every caliber have been doing for years, every budget, right? And it just seemed like somewhere, somehow, some people were drinking this Kool-Aid when, from a business perspective, people like Nib95 and Reforged Gaming and the others that made these claims or insinuated them required that more people listen to their podcasts or consume their own content, which I made videos for. These so-called folk basically over here vying for exclusivity don't even practice such exclusivity to the extent that they want everybody else to, or wanted PlayStation 2. So looking at Xbox, that is a $1 trillion company that has looked at ways to basically go ahead and improve its, profitability, improve its ecosystem, a lot of PlayStation fanboys basically dashed their arguments against the freaking rock, fragile as they are, and they shattered into billions of pieces, while PlayStation is about to engage in the exact same paradigm that Xbox was engaging in 2016, bringing their games to PC more off console.
And frankly, there aren't many platforms out there that try to build connections to people on so many different screens. It's almost like single platform, single device, single game. And that's kind of the history of our business. And we're really taking an approach of, we want people to be able to play Xbox on many different screens. Now, not every experience will be the same. We obviously love the native experience we have on our own platform.
Hey, did you hear that? That's the same thing Nishino-san said, that they have seen data that there are people who love the native experience. And he's saying that they enjoy that native experience too. Something that for some reason a lot of thick skulls would not allow to get in there.
Our own hardware. And that's something that will continue for us. But we're not going to put walls up around where people can engage with the great games our studios are building, or where they can experience Xbox through different forms, whether it's cloud, whether it's on PC, whether it's on handheld PCs, whether it's on phones. I want everybody to be able to play on Xbox. And it does mean more of our games shipping on more platforms, not just PlayStation. We love the work that we do with Nintendo. We love what we do with Valve on Steam. And that's going to continue. We'll just continue to do more of it because what we learn is put the games first.
To me, that makes sense. I think PlayStation took a different approach, never really bothered to put the games first in this generation, which they benefited from last generation. The games was what got them here. But now they decided that they wanted to springboard. They got Marathon on delay. They got Concord canceled. They got Fair Games, boss of studio, left, canceled all these live service games, and never really, paid attention that their games were more important than money hiding games and trying to get Xbox out of business. Right? So now you're seeing the fruits of both of them. I got myself a Rogue Ally X because I want to take my games where I want to go. I don't want anybody to dictate where I get to play my games. I want to be the one that organizes that. Right now, I'm launching my Epic Games launcher on my handheld. Steam Deck almost seemed like, it was dictatorial in a sense because it did not have, there's no native layer, right, to the Windows dual boot where you can launch others, you can launch other launchers and stuff, but, you kind of need that, extra piece of the puzzle. And that's where that's why ASUS came in and quickly jumped in and iterated their Armory Crate, which doesn't do a good job maybe 15% of the time, but the remaining 85%, it really does get you where you need to be. It absolutely does. If you understand what I mean. So when it comes down to it, I think this is something that he realizes, and PlayStation doesn't have anything like this. They're not interested in anything like this, or at least they haven't made it known that they have interest in something like this. So if they're not interested in me controlling how I actually game, then it's a business. I'll go game with whoever wants me to have the freedom that I choose to have. That's Steam. That's Epic, in a sense. That's Epic. That's Microsoft's Xbox with their app, and anybody else. Until then, anybody that doesn't want that, particular framework, PlayStation, Nintendo, y'all can sit there waiting. When you're ready, you can find the customer where we are.
Sure, the games can be as great as they can. We love the experience on our own hardware, our own platform, but our games will show up in more and more places, no doubt.
If I could follow up really quick before we go to you, Danny. So along those lines, because again, one of the concerns that I hear in the community is about your own hardware and the future of that. Now, I know Sarah Bond has stated, yes, we will continue to have Xbox hardware in the future, technical leap, things like that. You've obviously talked about the handheld that is still some years away. So eventually you're going to do something like that. But there is concern in the community about, well, you're putting all these games on these other platforms. Why would I still want an Xbox? What is going to be the reason for me to want Xbox hardware when I can get that experience on another platform?
Yeah, I want people to pick hardware based on the capabilities of that hardware and how that fits into the choices they want to make about where they want to play. And
agreed. There's no other reason why I should have to follow your dictates, your mandates on some hard. See, if PlayStation gave a value proposition, I would have said, oh, you know what? Because they give me a value proposition, maybe the PS5 Pro is something that I can deal with. Maybe I'll buy a PS5 Pro. Why would I go do that when I could just buy myself a handheld that, is going to do the job better? I'll still play their games on PC should I be interested, right? And so they have lost out on a potential customer because they won't give me what I want. What I want is not that hard. It's actually very simple. Let me have the freedom to play my games where I want to play them. And if I can't get that freedom, then I'm out. Very simple. There's nothing complicated to it.
We want our hardware to win based on the hardware capabilities that we have. I think the difference that we've seen in the last 20 years, and I think this is good because I come from building games, it's really game first, not platform first. Most of the games you and I will talk about run across so many different platforms. And those are the games that are having success. Those are the games that are at the top of the charts when you look at the most played, most successful games. And I want to build a platform that services those creators that are trying to meet people on every screen. But let's say, like our own hardware, I think it's fundamental to what Xbox is. It's not lost on me. I've said over and over that boxed is in the name of our brand. I'll say is in the position I'm in, I look at hardware as a critical part of what we do, but not trying to gatekeep the games off of other places for the benefit of it. Let's go build innovative hardware that people want to use to play, whether that's in their hands, whether it's on their television, or even other places. And I love our hardware team and spent some time with them just this week. And
You can't beat this. You cannot beat this strategy with the old school strategy. The old school strategy is going to die to this strategy. It will die to this strategy. There's something that he says here at the end of this video that
the roadmap that they have. And I think we're learning a lot from this, like Steam Deck and what does it mean for our games to be there? ROG Ally, what does it mean? Lenovo.
ROG Ally. Woo, he tried to hold it in.
What does Xbox mean on those platforms? I don't think we've tuned it perfectly yet, and it spent a lot of time with the teams on that. But I want to make progress there. LG and the work we're doing with cloud, all of that helps us evolve our platform software so that we really embrace allowing someone to be a member of Xbox on whatever screen they want to play on.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. If at this point people are still in doubt as to what Xbox's strategy is and how that strategy is going to work, there it is. Gamers, all this talk about why would I want an Xbox? You want an Xbox or you don't want an Xbox. I mean, that's not even a question that people want to keep asking like, oh, whatever. I'm going to make another video soon. Hopefully, we're going to look at that. And you guys are going to see what I think is somewhat pretentious in this whole conversation. Thanks for watching. Talk to me in the comment section. Peace out.